is a big news on ETFs getting massive inflows, Bitcoin ETFs in particular, since January. Now, for those that are not aware, Bitcoin ETFs or an ETF is an exchange traded fund. And when they refer to Bitcoin, it is a Bitcoin valued or based exchange traded fund. The significance of this really at the end of the day is access for people to move into Bitcoin with their retirement funds like their 401ks. Outside of that, not something, I mean, like if you're going to directly invest, obviously just purchasing the Bitcoin directly is going to be your best bet. But let's say you have a bunch of retirement, you want to put that long run into Bitcoin, you don't want to pull that out and incur taxation, etc., and then put it into Bitcoin. It can be a viable option for you, and that is the significance for it. And I want to make that clear because I know there's a lot of negative sentiment from Bitcoin maximalists surrounding ETFs. It does go against, your traditional white paper hardcore believers. In Bitcoin, yes, it is paper Bitcoin. You do not control the Bitcoin. If you do not control the keys, you don't control the Bitcoin. All these sorts of things. You're trusting a third party custodian. But it does mean there's more money coming into Bitcoin as a whole. And it does give people a tax-free way to move their retirement into Bitcoin and get exposure, and it props up the Bitcoin price. So by and large, it is probably a positive because it's just another way to participate within Bitcoin. However, that value of that asset will still be denoted in fiat. So, it is what it is. That being said, US-based Bitcoin exchange traded funds had their largest day of net inflows since late January as crypto markets remained buoyant over Easter weekend. The 11 Bitcoin tracking funds saw a joint net inflow of $381.3 million on April 21st, largely carried by $116.1 million inflow into the ARK21 shares Bitcoin ETF, according to CoinGlass data. Now, a lot of people were asking, where was your April 20th prediction coming from? I was purely looking at tax day, avoiding taxes, when that would clear up, and the day we would see it in markets. I had a pretty good feeling that we would see it in markets specifically because of exchange traded funds. So this is something I was already expecting, and where my Bitcoin will begin to recover again on April 20th prediction came from. It really wasn't like a 420 joke. It was literally, that was the data based off of all that. We had that long weekend, and that's what I was expecting. So that is where this came from. And this was the data I was following. So I wanted to follow up on it so you guys understood what I was looking at. It's the largest inflow day for ETFs since funds had a $588.1 million joint net inflow on January 30th, days after Bitcoin hit a peak and was trading with a six-figure price tag. The ETFs have struggled to maintain inflows over the past few weeks amid U.S. President Donald Trump's trade war threats. CoinGecko shows Bitcoin fell below $100,000 US in early February and hit a 2025 low of $74,773 on April 7th. Unfortunately, I was under by about 2,000 or 2,700 on my prediction there, but close enough. Days after Trump placed tariffs on every country, which also caused a stock market slump. The Fidelity Wise Origin Bitcoin Fund, FBTC, saw the second largest inflow for April 21 with $87.6 million, while the Greystone Bitcoin Trust, GBTC, and the company's Bitcoin Mini Trust ETF, BTC, saw joint net inflows of $69.1 million US. BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust ETF, the largest of the group by assets under management, saw net inflows reach $41.6 million, about half of the inflows it saw before the weekend trading break on April 17th. U.S. markets had shut down on April 18th in observance of Good Friday, and trading on Monday, April 21st, saw them close in red, with the S&P 500 down 2.4%, while the NASDAQ and Dow Jones each dropped 2.5%. The crypto markets, meanwhile, were able to hold on to gains made over the long weekend, with the total crypto market capitalization climbing by $800 billion over the three-day break to hold at $2.84 trillion. Bitcoin has boosted that total, having climbed above a market value of $1.75 trillion for the first time since March 22nd, as its price struck above 88,000 on its 4-week high. Now, I think Bitcoin's significantly above that now. Yeah, it's trading at 93,000 right now. We probably have a little ways to go to get back up to that 104,000 though. I guess not. It's really looking like it's going to peak back up to that. The question is, typically it's like what? The 12-month mark, which is now, would be the first euphoric raise, and then another correction, and then one more euphoric raise. The question is, how high is that going to go? We technically have 2 more left in this cycle, with 18 months being the final, so like 6 months from now. Which would be October. So it is getting to the point to where it's push or shove on whether the halving cycle is going to have as significant of an impact as it has had in the past. I'm up in the air. I don't really know. I know from a timeline perspective, I want to start getting out soon, if I'm following the halving cycle. So there's a lot of thinking and analysis and things to look at from a mining perspective on when you want to get rid of, some more equipment. I feel like from the GPU mining side, it's time to buy GPUs because all of the GPU mining farms are fully capitulating and selling. The big players are getting out. At the same time, if we were to look at like can we see it here? This is just volume. The emissions of, say, what's the highest GPU mineable emissions? This isn't even real. Let's go here. Raven coin at 43,000 a day. What else do we got on here? Flux at 14,000. There's just not enough daily emissions to really justify large GPU mining farms at scale, right? Zealous is looking good at 13.37 thousand. And Varus coin at 11.78. That's pretty good for it's going to be more cell phone mineable. Chlor's impressive at 11,000. Is Cubic the highest emissions? Cubic's not even on this list here. Unfortunately. That's weird, because it is listed. But they don't have their emissions here listed because I guess this just isn't working that well. But in chat, for those that are not aware, Ozzy said Cubic is the highest right now at $140,000 of 24-hour emissions, which is pretty good. Overall, if that's true, I can't verify it on Mining Pool Stats, so let me know how I can verify that, Ozzy. I hope you enjoyed this clip from the Crypto Mining Show. If you would like to see more from this particular episode, take a look up here. Don't forget to also subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support me directly, you can go to sonofatech.locals.com and become a member. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next Tuesday.